Welcome to the Sports Note Show. Today we're joined by Purdue quarterback Austin Burton. Welcome. Before we get started, can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. A little about myself. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, since I was young. Played 3 years of high school there, right in Newton, right outside of Boston. And then my senior year, I transferred to a bigger school in Florida just to get more competition and see where I stand all across the country. After that year, I decided to commit to UCLA. Spent 3 years here, and then decided to grad transfer to Purdue. So that's where I'm at right now.
Cool. So in high school, you dominated, throwing almost 9,000 yards, 87 touchdowns. And then when you transferred to Florida, you said it was more competitive, but you still threw over 2,300 yards and had 14 touchdowns. How did your years in high school prep you up for UCLA and now Purdue?
That's a good question. I would say when I first grew up in Boston, Newton, I went to a high school that we threw the ball. Our coaches threw the ball about 40, 50 times a game. We had some good athletes on our team. We had one guy, two D1 receivers, and a guy running track at Harvard. So we had a bunch of guys that could really run, so we decided to throw the ball a lot. So just getting into that atmosphere of just throwing the ball almost every down, that kind of got me suited up for when I went to Florida, which, I mean, obviously you go to a place like Florida, the speed's a little faster. Guys are just more elusive. So that year in Florida definitely prepped me a lot. Just it was a new learning experience. So when I got to college, I think it was just an easier transition as opposed to if I went from Boston to UCLA.
I actually have a question about that as well. So you discussed how your senior year you transferred to Florida school, for more exposure, and so now you're transferring as well in college. So I was just wondering, how did transferring during the high school level, how did that prep you now for transferring during the college level?
Yeah, I think anytime you transfer, it's kind of you just have to adapt to the new situation and kind of you got to be okay with meeting new people and kind of building new relationships. That's one thing going from Boston to Florida and then Florida to UCLA, just kind of seeing the different culture changes from those different places that I've been to. It's kind of been easier for me and meeting new people with different backgrounds and kind of just branching out of my comfort zone. I think that's definitely helped. So now going from LA to West Lafayette, I think that'll be it won't be too challenging in that aspect. So I think that's definitely helped.
So you spent 3 years at UCLA, and you'll be immediately eligible to play for Purdue in the fall.
Yeah.
What type of impact do you expect to have on the team?
Right now, I'm hoping we have a season to start out with.
Right.
But I think when I get there, I mean, I try to be. I think as a quarterback, you want to be a vocal and just a leader. I think being a leader is extremely important. It comes with the title of being a quarterback. So just try to bring that aspect to it, and then contribute any way I can. Obviously, you want to be a starter. That's what every quarterback's goal is going into any school. So I'm going to know I'm going in to compete and just kind of make the most of my opportunity there.
Okay. So in transferring Purdue, the current coach right now, Jeff Brom, he was a former professional player, pretty much been described as a quarterback guru. So I was just wondering, how much did playing for him factor in your decision to transfer to Purdue?
Yeah, I would say definitely a huge factor. I really enjoyed just the conversations that built up over the past couple of months with Coach Braun and the staff there. I think they really know what they're doing. Like you said, he's a great quarterback and just a great coach in general. So I think learning from a guy like that will only enhance my game and just allow me to grow and become better. So that's definitely him being on the phone with him all the time and just getting to know him and like I said, that staff has definitely been a huge component of going to Purdue.
Okay, makes sense.
So your only start at UCLA and your first start at UCLA was against Oregon State. Against Oregon State, you threw for 236 yards, completing 65.9% of your passes, a touchdown, and no interceptions. So you've shown that you can play at a high level. Did you transfer to Purdue in order to get a bigger opportunity to showcase your talent? Or was it because you just prefer the Purdue system?
I think there's a couple of different reasons. One, I just wanted a new opportunity for sure. I thought I could have a better fit and just really have a better opportunity somewhere else than UCLA. So when I went into the transfer portal, it's like kind of like high school recruiting all over again. You just like your phone, just like you start getting in contact with a bunch of coaches right off the bat. So once I kind of narrowed it down, and I really liked Purdue's offense. I think they have stellar cast of receivers like Rondell Moore and Bell coming back. So those kind of guys too. And just I thought I saw myself fitting in well on top of the coaching staff. I thought it would be a really good fit.
So you come from a very strong family history of football. So I was wondering, in terms of, growing up, was there a lot of pressure placed on you to be successful or to make sure that you played football? Like, how was that for you growing up?
Yeah, actually, well, my granddad played for at the time it was the Boston Patriots, and then my dad played at Northwestern with his brothers as well. So, I mean, growing up, I actually was a basketball player. I had 3 sisters who all played Division I basketball as well. So, like, I was all basketball growing up. Like, that's what I thought I was going to do for sure. And then I really didn't fall in love with football until I would say middle school, 8th grade, going into 9th grade. And that's when I really took to the game and just kind of devoted. I realized like that's what I wanted to do. And like just all the hours I put into it. My dad never really like made it like I never felt really stressed like, oh, I have to make it. Like I have to be a Division I football player. He never put that stress on me at all. I just really fell in love with it and kind of took to the game and was willing to do anything at that point to get to that level.
So what was the biggest factor in you transferring from UCLA to Purdue?
The biggest factor?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like I said earlier, just the whole culture at Purdue. I fell in love with it right away. I never actually got a chance to visit Purdue because of the whole coronavirus, which was tough for me. My parents, my younger sister plays at Northwestern, so I think they were playing Indiana. So my parents were able to fly out to Indiana and then visit Purdue. So they kind of got to see the campus and meet the coaches and see a practice. And my parents called me right after, just being like, this is the spot, Austin. Like, and I trust them wholeheartedly. So I knew, like, I felt good about that. I felt good about it before already. And then my parents confirming that to me, like, I knew that was going to be the place. I love the coaches. And I just think it's going to be a great chance to play.
And so now you're transitioning from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. So I was just wondering, in terms of play style, what do you think will be the biggest change when it comes to this?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to wait and see a little bit on that one. The weather, for sure, is gonna change. I mean, I'm in LA where it's 75 and sunny every single day. But I mean, then again, I grew up in Boston, so I'm used to that kind of crappy, raining, sleeting, whatever it is, kind of weather that will be in Indiana as well. But I think that'll be a different change, and just the level of play. I think the defense in the Big Ten, they're known for having great defenses, whether it's Ohio State, Michigan, and all those teams, they have great defenses in the Big Ten. So that's a different change, I think, a little bit. But other than that, it's football, just kind of adjust and be ready to play.